For most of the 20th century, the middle class wasn't just an economic category. It was the backbone of modern civilization. It represented stability, upward mobility, and the belief that hard work could transform a life. After World War II, millions of families rose from poverty into comfortable, secure lifestyles thanks to affordable homes, strong unions, plentiful manufacturing jobs, and steadily rising wages. For the first time in history, ordinary people could buy houses, own cars, send their children to school, and retire with dignity. This wasn't a dream, it was normal life. But the foundation that built this stability has been eroding quietly for decades, and now the collapse is accelerating. The middle class is shrinking, not because people are getting richer, but because they're being pushed downward. Jobs that once paid well have disappeared, replaced by low-wage service work or automated by machines. Wages have barely moved in 40 years, while the cost of living has exploded. Owning a home, which was once the defining symbol of middle-class life, has become unreachable for millions. Globalization shifted factories overseas. Union power weakened. Corporations grew larger and more powerful than entire countries. Meanwhile, the financial system shifted from rewarding workers to rewarding capital. Wealth began accumulating at the top at speeds never seen before, leaving the middle class squeezed from every direction. What makes this collapse even more dangerous is its silence. There was no big announcement, no warning sound, no dramatic crash. Instead, it happened slowly, grocery bill by grocery bill, rent increase by rent increase, debt payment by debt payment. And by the time most people realized what was happening, the middle class had already begun to vanish. This is not just an economic shift. It's a transformation of society, and the consequences are only beginning. For generations, people believed in a simple formula: work hard, earn more, move up. That was the promise of the middle class. But in the 21st century, this formula has quietly broken. Today, millions of people are working harder than ever. Longer hours, multiple jobs, constant hustle, yet they're still falling behind. The new economy doesn't reward effort the way it used to. Instead, it traps people in a cycle where income rises slowly, but expenses explode relentlessly. Consider the basic costs of living: housing, healthcare, education, transportation, food. In most countries, wages have barely moved for decades, but the price of these essentials has soared far beyond what an average salary can support. Even families who earn decent incomes feel like they're running on a treadmill that keeps speeding up. Every raise disappears instantly into higher rent, bigger bills, or unavoidable debt. Debt has become the silent chain binding the new working class. Student loans, medical bills, credit cards, personal loans. These tools, marketed as opportunities, have turned into lifelong burdens. Instead of enabling mobility, they create modern serfdom. People aren't just working for money. They're working to service endless interest payments. Gig work adds another layer of instability. Millions now rely on unpredictable incomes from platforms that offer freedom but no benefits, no protections, and no path upward. Jobs that once provided security have become temporary, outsourced, automated, or replaced by algorithms that treat workers as numbers, not people. The result is a quiet crisis: exhausted workers, rising inequality, disappearing savings, and a generation that feels poorer than their parents despite working twice as hard. Hard work alone is no longer enough, not because people changed, but because the system did. This is the new poverty trap: invisible, systematic, and designed to keep people stuck. One of the biggest reasons the middle class is collapsing is because the flow of money in the economy has fundamentally changed direction. Instead of circulating through communities, supporting small businesses, funding wages, or improving living standards, wealth now moves in a one-way stream, upward. Once it reaches the top, it rarely comes back down. This phenomenon is what economists quietly call a wealth vacuum. Every major system in the modern economy, finance, housing, technology, healthcare, energy, has been redesigned to extract money from the many and concentrate it into the hands of the few. Start with housing. A generation ago, people bought homes to live in. Today, giant investment funds buy homes to turn them into rental machines. When corporations outbid families, prices skyrocket, rents climb, and ownership becomes a dream reserved for a shrinking elite. Every rent payment becomes part of the vacuum, flowing directly upward. Technology platforms operate the same way. A single company can replace thousands of local businesses, bookstores, markets, repair shops, travel agencies, media outlets, siphoning billions in profits with almost no employees. These platforms dominate markets, crush competition, and funnel earnings into a tiny group of shareholders and executives. Finance accelerates this concentration. Stock buybacks, once illegal, now allow corporations to inflate their value artificially while avoiding higher wages or investment in workers. Instead of money going into paychecks, innovation, or job security, it goes into the pockets of those who already own the most shares. Meanwhile, everyday people are pushed into debt, credit cards, loans, mortgages, which quietly transfers even more wealth upward through interest payments. The result? Money flows up like a waterfall, but trickles down like a leaking faucet. The middle class shrinks not because wealth disappears, but because it gets captured at the top and locked away. This is the wealth vacuum. Powerful, silent, and devastating. For centuries, the rise of the middle class was built on one simple foundation: ownership. A home, a car, a small business, savings, land, assets. These were the stepping stones of stability and upward mobility. Today, that foundation is disappearing and a new system is emerging, one eerily similar to the past. Economists quietly call it modern feudalism. In the old feudal world, a tiny elite owned everything: land, property, resources, and everyone else paid to use it. The peasants worked the fields they didn't own, lived on land they didn't own, and were dependent on the lord who controlled everything. Now look around. The same structure is returning, but with a digital twist. Homes are no longer purchased by families. They rebought in bulk by investment giants who turn entire neighborhoods into rental empires. Cars are becoming subscription services. Software, tools, and even basic digital services require monthly payments. You don't buy things anymore, you rent access. This model has a name: the subscription economy, and it is designed to ensure that nothing ever truly belongs to you. Even your job is increasingly unstable, shifting toward gig work, contracts, and temporary roles. Workers don't build careers. They rent their labor hour by hour to platforms that can deactivate them with a click. No stability, no benefits, no long-term growth. Meanwhile, the wealthy accumulate actual ownership: stocks, real estate portfolios, intellectual property, AI tools, patents. These assets generate passive income forever, widening the gap between those who own and those who merely access. The result is a world split into two classes: owners, a small elite controlling assets, data, platforms, and capital; renters, the vast majority paying recurring fees just to participate in life. This is the silent return of feudalism: modern, polished, digital, but fundamentally the same. A world where ownership becomes a luxury and dependency becomes the new normal. There was a time when the middle class had a clear ladder in front of them. Study hard, get a decent job, save some money, buy a home, and build a better life for your kids. Simple, predictable, achievable. That ladder is now missing rungs. Some parts are cracked. Others have been completely removed. The cost of essential goals, education, housing, healthcare, has grown far faster than wages. A generation ago, one salary could support a family. Today, two incomes barely cover rent, groceries, loans, and bills. The idea of saving has quietly become a privilege, not a habit. The middle class is not collapsing suddenly. It's sinking slowly, quietly, almost politely. People still work hard, but every step forward comes with a bigger price tag. Promotions don't keep up with inflation, career growth is unstable, and job security is something from an old movie. Meanwhile, upward mobility has become less about effort and more about luck. Being born in the right family, entering the right industry, or catching the right opportunity at the perfect moment. The economic engine that once lifted millions has stalled, and no one wants to admit it. Even worse, the new generation is expected to climb higher with fewer tools. A home requires decades of savings. A degree comes with lifelong debt. And the jobs that once provided stability are disappearing or being automated. This isn't a broken ladder. It's a ladder that's been pulled up by those already at the top.